Good evening and welcome. I'm Hailey Coxon and this is the Spirit of Motorsport TV. Now, tonight's show, you know, we've got the fantastic Mr. David Knight MBE joining us in the studio. You have complete access to him for the next hour. So make sure you have your questions ready, get your beers ready, your drinks with you to join the party, and let's check in with the legend himself, Mr. David Knight, and hear all about his journey and his mission out there at the Dakar. For his first time, it was out there in the desert. He did quite a phenomenal job. His mission when he went out there was simply just to finish the event, and boy, did he do that, finishing 24th out of 101 entrants. Now, David will be sharing some of his stories, but first of all, we've got a little bit of a video to share with you, and then the good man himself will be joining us in the studio.
No, it's gone all quick, hasn't it? You just 1 minute you're here getting ready for the rally, the next minute you're ready to go home. And I was saying to Neil before how fast it's gone. It's, you know, when you're riding, it doesn't go that fast, but the whole, like, I think we've been here since Boxing Day, 3 weeks. Beautiful country, you know. Up north, I would say, up Neom and coming back, you know, like I've never seen landscapes like it anyway, you know, from Sulby. We don't get landscapes like that. As far as I'm concerned, the job that I set out to do is done. We accomplished, you know, had an unbelievable good time, and now get back to reality again and see what's happening next.
Okay, well, listen, we'll come out and say goodbye when you get off to the airport, because I live here now.
Yeah, I heard of me. Is that your wife just went past a minute ago?
Do you know, it's a bit of an unreal feeling, because it's not just a 2-week event. It's been the last 5 years. It's meant to be a 4-year plan. Last year, I broke my arm on day 5. So that was horrendous. I'd say the high is the last 10K of the last stage. Coming in, little tear in my eye, just got all emotional. It's, yeah, like I said, 5 years in the making.
There she is. That's a Dakar medal.
Wow.
So, yeah, all that, it's sweat, tears, joy, scratching around, trying to find budget, you know, and that little thing there makes it all worthwhile. You know, it's weird, isn't it? But no, unbelievable. You know, you get hit with the skin of your teeth. You ride the 2 weeks hoping nothing's going to go wrong. You know, the last day you're absolutely you're panicking that something's going to go wrong with the bike, or you're going to mess up. And, you know, mentally it's torture. It's mental torture for 2 weeks. But, you know, getting that at the end is all worthwhile for it, you know. So, yeah, chase your dreams. And if you've got a dream, then go after it.
Cheers, Billy.
Cheers, Hailey.
Spot on. Cheers, Billy.
See you later, dude. Have a safe trip.
Cheers.
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 See you back
See
in
ya.
life.
Have a good. Don't get lost in the desert.
If you've got a dream, then go after it. That's going to stick with me. So the great man himself is going to be joining us. Remember, though, send us your questions. Thank you so much so far to all of you that have commented. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to be live again. And, of course, with David. So without further ado, shall we invite him in? David, back on the Isle of Man. How the devil are you?
Spot on. Thanks, Hailey. Just want to say that taxi drive back to the airport was the most dangerous part of the whole journey. It was some boys and drivers. But, no,
How
good
are
to
you
be
then?
spot on. Just obviously locked up for 2 weeks in here, and yeah, it's tough being away from the family, but yeah, I can get all the other jobs done, and been pretty busy really. I've got plenty to do, and yeah, just trying to get through it all. And it's actually gone quite quick this week, so I can't complain too much.
Bit of Netflix and chilling for one, is it?
Yeah, I had a bit of wine last night, and I got the Netflix working in here because Emma called me. Netflix isn't working because I'd got it working on this one, and took her one offline. So so now it's just been just washing, and I just cleaned my helmets and stuff before, and yeah, loads of things. Just getting in touch with people, messaging people, emailing people. So now it's a good chance to get all that done, and when I'm out of here, I can spend some time with the family.
Back to reality, hey, and it's there has been such a huge amount of support. It's blown up for you. Everybody's supporting your racing, obviously, and you've had your previous fans, but you've shone a light on the sport to so many more people and followers who just didn't really have much of an idea of the Dakar prior to you taking part. And we've had so many messages and people who absolutely loved how raw you were and how honest you were with when you shared your story, which is brilliant for us as fans, but also, you know, fantastic to bring those new followers in and really shine a light on the event and what you do when you commit to it as well.
Yeah, it's been I think the whole COVID thing as well has helped everything, you know. People there's not much going on, and Dakar's on, and people have got into it, and you know, I've had so many good messages of people just saying the same thing, really, like they've never really followed the Dakar much, you've heard of it and you've never followed it, and then they're amazed by it. So yeah, as I was being there, you know, it's obviously first time for me there, and you can it's like I say to people with the TD, you can watch it on video on TV, you know, 50 times or whatever, but until you get there in reality, you just no idea of the actual reality of an event like that, and that was exactly the same.
So we've had quite a few comments here. We've got a few hellos, so let's just check in with a few of your fans. We've got Liz Neville says, hi David, really enjoyed following you every night from Norfolk. So pleased you did so well. Andy Cruz says, evening Hailey and evening David, you legend. We've got lots of legendary status here. Hi everyone from Angela Gordon. And Nick Walsh says, absolutely amazing, two superstars. That Big Dave and Hailey the Sun are now back to Dave. Thanks so much. So many people following you. Absolutely brilliant. Now we've got loads of questions, but really, what was the biggest? So coming out of the event and coming back to the island now, looking back and reflecting, your mission was to complete the event. Are you proud of what you achieved, or do you think you could have given it more, or do you feel like, no, I did what I set out to do?
You can always, like, it's a tough one, really. I'm obviously really happy with what I've achieved, and you know, it's hard every day telling yourself, right, we need to just get to the finish of this, and it's like I said in some of the videos, it's frustrating some days having to ride at like 50-60%, but you know, I'd be absolutely gutted if I'd gone a bit quicker and something made a mistake and not finished it. You know, Neil Hawker, who was just on that video, he had that last year, day 4 or 5, broke his wrist, and just split second, and that's what I had on day 2. Just, you know, no fault of my own, really. Just got out of the way of a car, thick dust, hit a rock, and down I went, and that was a big eye opener for me, because I fell at low speed and absolutely just bang, hit the floor so hard, and I don't bounce like I used to. You sort of, but that, you know, I believe in fate and stuff like that. So I think that was actually a good thing that happened. It slowed me down a little bit more. people were saying if you're going at 70%, you need to go to 40%. So it's hard. People that have done it, they worry. They know that I've come from a background where I've always got to try and win. And yeah, I think a lot of people were worried that I'd go into the sand dunes and go like a nutter and have a big crash and hurt myself. So once I got into it, I was sort of scared myself because all the warnings that good riders had given me over the months before, especially about in the dunes. So once I found myself and I figured it out halfway through, like, right, I know what I need to be careful of now. This is what people are on about. But I sort of relaxed a bit more and enjoyed it more.
You could see that in your, when you were sending your videos and when you were chatting, you could see your energy change a little bit. It was great to see.
And, you always want to do better. And, I had like 50 minutes of penalties from the first week that knocked me down about 3 or 4 places. So, but everyone has, or most of us, especially when you're new to it, just like you get 5 minutes for speeding, and that's slightly over, like 3 mile an hour over for like a second. There's so many things to think about. The waypoint was a big one. That was the one that annoyed me because I was really trying to get them, and when we had that GPS playing up on day 2, 3, they actually changed it when we scrutineered. It wasn't working right, so they took it off, and then they said it was the aerial, so they put a new aerial on it. And I didn't really know any different, but I was like, this can't be right, because it wasn't logging waypoints until like 2 or 3K after it. So we put, like, I come in and I said, listen, says, like, I thought it was me being stupid, but it's not. It's clearly something wrong with it. They put a new one on, and it was 100 million% better, from that moment on. That helped me a hell of a lot as well, because I was like, oh, it wasn't me in the end. It was, just crap gear. But yeah, just all learning experience. Every little thing was learning.
There were so many frustrated fans here because they could see that your GPS still wasn't sorted, and they were like, freaking get it sorted. But there's so many other names as well, weren't there? A lot of the big hitters were having issues with the GPS as well. So
yeah, it was, the waypoint that I missed, the guys looked at it, and I knew where it was. It was in the sand dunes, and I was trying to log it, and I actually went back on the next one, like 8K. So that in itself cost me 20, 25 minutes just going back for that one. And I'd already got it, but hadn't logged up. And then I rode around, an Australian guy, and he said, well, I've got it, and we've just ridden around together. And his has clicked on and mine didn't. So, and it's only when I rode another like 7 or 8K to the next one that one logged. So, but it was all new to me. It was like, even at that point, that was like day 2 or 3 or something. I still didn't fully understand everything the GPS done, because you only use them at races, and the organisers, they supply them. And they looked at mine, it was like 10-year-old. It was one of the ones that were ready to get disused anyway. So yeah, just one of them things, but it didn't really affect me too much. It was, just crack on and learn from it.
So, all right, we've got to get onto some of these questions. We've got Regan. He says, hey, Nita, are you already planning Dakar 2022? And have you been approached by any factory teams yet? All the best from South Wales. It would be good to have you come over and ride with us. Yeah,
I'll be over when we can. Love a bit of riding down in Wales. But yeah, I would love to. I thought it would maybe take a few months to sort of say that I'd like to do it again or not do it, but I would do it again, definitely. I really enjoyed myself. It has to be under the right conditions, under the right terms, because I realize, well, before you go, but when you're there, it's really a dangerous sport, a dangerous event. I don't know if I'd be committed to go and do it, to run it at top 10. to try that. You know, I don't know if I'd be willing to risk that much to push that hard, but saying that, as the event went on, I got more and more comfortable. So yeah, I'd do it again. I've spoke to a few people, but just let the dust settle really now and see what happens. But yeah, I would definitely like to have another crack at it.
To quote your lovely lady, she said at the end of it, I think it was stage 11, she said, "You were as fit as a fiddle. You could go again."
Yeah, and it was weird because obviously I'd not ridden a big lot before the event. I was scared to get hurt, and just with all the COVID thing and that, I couldn't. You're on the Isle of Man and you're doing the same old thing, and then into the event, I've always been like that. The longer I get into an event, the better I get, and I honestly felt, apart from my ribs, I felt brand new. I felt better than I did at the start, and I was joking to people, you know, oh, I wish it was 3 weeks long like it used to be back in the day. Have another week, because I was in that place where I could see I could do a lot better even when I wasn't pushing really hard. But there was always some little mistake or something holding me back to end up getting like a top 15 result. So that competitiveness was still there, but I just had to keep telling myself, like, there were so many times I was riding along in dust. And the trouble was in the dust, you get yo-yo effect. You would catch people ahead and then the boys behind would catch you, and you didn't go anywhere. And the big risk was trying to get through the dust to get past people. And so many times I was like, whoa, David, right, calm myself now because it's on her end in tears. And I was literally like shouting that to myself riding, and it is what it is. You've just got to accept that, which is pretty tough because the people you're following are a lot slower than what I was. But you just got to be smart about it and minimize the risk.
Another mental resilience lesson learned. I think.
Yeah, but I think that's something I wouldn't have done 10 years ago. I would have just you know, flat out and got past. But that's where accidents happen there.
So we've got a few more here. We've got Graham Chalmers said, "Hi David, did you get a chance to meet the Saudi people, and what do they all think of the rally being in their country, and were they able to come and watch the action?"
There was I wasn't there last year, the first year that they ran it, obviously, but everyone said there was a lot more people interested in it and watching this year. The people were spot on, you know, the people we met in the hotel and the people out watching. They seem to be really keen on it. They have these like souped up pickup trucks that are blasting up sand dunes and stuff in. So yeah, they seem like they're into it. And like in South America, there was literally millions of people spectating. You know, people said there was people almost getting crushed at the opening ceremony. They were holding kids up because they were getting crushed. So many people, like 300,000 people at that. So I think it's a bit different to what it's been there. But I think over the next 10 years or whatever they've committed to it, it's going to grow quite a lot.
Exciting to see where they take it. We've got a great question here. Mudface Tony, are there any organisations in the UK that run roadbook events?
Yeah, there is. One guy that has helped me a little bit is a guy from Rally Moto in the UK. He's made some road books and stuff for me. They run road book events in the UK. And yeah, like I've never even done one of them. They had one in the Isle of Man here that ran with the Tour of Man. It's like a bike rally that they had here, local organizer. But Robert Hughes, the guy's name from Rally Moto, he ran a road book event alongside that. So yeah, you want to look into it because I found it really good, really interesting, and something different. So yeah, you want to have a look at that and have a go.
We've got another one here. We've got from a Facebook user. So if you are on Facebook, make sure that you click the link so you give StreamYard permission to use your details. The question is, please, can we ask David how bad the liaison stages were?
Yeah, that was what I was dreading the most. Like, I think in South America it was even worse. They were like, you know, riding for like 5-6 hours on the road. The worst one we had, like, the mornings were actually not bad. It was pitch black and cold, but you could actually put some warm gear on. They give you a bag that you carried with you. You got to the start of the stage, you usually had about 45 minutes to an hour. So you could get all your warm clothing off, stick it in your bag, put it in the back of a truck, and then that got back to the bivouac for that evening. So that wasn't too bad. You could put good gloves on, good jacket, or I had like a snowmobile suit because some mornings it was really cold. The worst one was after the stage, because you've just got your jacket like I've got behind me here without, I'd take the sleeves off. You would have your riding jersey and your sort of airbag vest on. So you'd get, I think the one day we'd rode for like 9 hours, something like that. We got to the end of the stage, and then it was 300 kilometers back to the bivouac, and I think it was like 4 o'clock, something like that. We got to the end of the stage. So you set off riding. It was up in the mountains. It was cold, and like an hour into it, it's getting dark. The sun's gone down, and you're just riding along, shivering, freezing. And like, I pulled in once and just stood behind the exhaust and warmed my hands and tried to warm up a bit. But you just think, I'm not going anywhere when you're doing that. So I was at my ribs were sore anyway, but you're shivering that much, it was even worse. And you're actually just riding along, miserable as anything, shivering, and just can't wait to get. And I got back and I was absolutely freezing. One of the coldest I've ever been on a bike, and that's coming from the Isle of Man. And I got back, I couldn't even get my gear off, it was that cold. I jumped in the shower in the truck and just stood in there for like 20 minutes and warmed up. And it was so nice to get like a hoodie and a jacket on and go for some warm food. And that was like, I think that was like day 3 or 4. And I thought, we've got another week and a half of this. But luckily that was the only really one that was, you know, there was a few cold ones, but that was really bad.
All right, we've got Arjan Lickthart. Sorry if I pronounced that really terribly. When did you start thinking about the Dakar?
Years ago. It's always been on my mind. And like I said, I had the opportunity years ago to do it as a factory rider, and I don't regret not doing it then, but I do a little bit. But I was successful at what I was doing. I was happy with what I was doing. I was in a good groove. And yeah, why change it? I was sort of at that point in my career. So, but I'm quite glad now that I've done it the way I have done it, because I could take it all in a lot more. I could enjoy it a lot more. And yeah, really, really did take it all on board when I was there, and loved it.
We've got so many questions. We've got a huge following. Remember though, everyone, keep sharing with your friends. We're going to be on here for at least another half an hour. We've got so many questions. Thank you everybody for comments, for sending your questions our way. We are going to get through as many of them as we possibly can. Daniel Ferguson says, is it true or a myth that at the Dakar they fill the bike tires with water for better traction on the sand? Great question, Daniel.
The myth. You might have used to years ago, I don't know. But no, we just run mousses, so you don't get punches. You've got obviously a tire and your mousse in it, and there's enough weight in the bike with all the fuel, 33 litres of fuel in the thing. So no, it's nice when the weight goes down on the bike.
How did you cope with it? Because they put a restriction on, was it 6 back tires, 6 rear tires you're allowed for the race? How did you get on that?
Well, it didn't affect me because I'm a rookie, allowed a new one every day. But to be honest, we didn't. I could have used like a Baja tire, which was more like a motocross tire, but I never chanced it. I just put a rally tire on, which if you've seen one, they're like a road tire almost. There's no knobs on them. They're pretty much like a slick. But actually, they were quite good to ride on. The Michelin tires that I used were unbelievably good, and I did quite a few days where I didn't change front or rear. Did like 2 days on tires, so it didn't really affect me anyway. But I think some of the top boys, I think they had a lot of trouble, and I think it'll be something that they'll revert to new tires every day next year if you want to.
Okay, we've got Tim Mansell Edwards. He is really supportive for you when you're away. Will your mum let your dirt bikes in the flat to keep you occupied?
All right, I've got a garage down below here, but it's got that many bikes of mums and stuff in. But no, I got one. I got me 500 KTM up here, and I just got my nephew to bring the van up and park it in the driveway with a load of stuff in the back, so I can just go out in the van and get a bike out and do a bit to it. So I've done a bit today. I'm not that highly motivated to do much at the minute, to be honest. I've got comfy in here, but no, I've got my 500 ready for when I'm allowed out, and I'll get the 2-stroke up tomorrow and do some.
Good. Mike Kenny's got a question here for you. He says, congratulations, David. Do you
Thanks.
get to keep the bike?
No, it was I've kept a lot of all my World Championship bikes and GNCC bikes and stuff, but the big money, these rally bikes are like, I think, prepared with all the gear on, they're like 32,000 euros. So it's something I would have loved to have, but one of my sponsors has got a classic car club in New York. They kindly agreed to buy the bike. So I think I'll go, and when it gets back to Holland and when we can travel, I'll go and collect it. We'll probably use it for some things that we're going to do, like have question nights or whatever. We can use a bike for that and have it there for people to look at and stuff. And then it'll get shipped to the US. But at least I know with Phil and Mike over there that, they'll treasure the thing. They'll have it with all the cars that they've got, and I know where it is, and I can go and see it when I need to, and maybe do stuff in the future with it. So that's pretty cool.
Have a little cuddle.
Yeah, I get it's weird, but I do get attached to my bikes, and people say I've been factory rider and had so many bikes over the years, but still, when you get a new bike, it's still special, still like a little kid in a sweet shop.
So we've got to give CCC Manhattan, got to give them a shout out, because they were helped with the editing, with a lot of the content that went out. They've been a fantastic support for you, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And even before the Dakar, the Andalusia rally in Spain, I had to get to that rally to get my license to get to the Dakar, and that was looking really unlikely. And then Philip and Mike came on board for that, and literally put the budget in to make that happen. So we're going to do some good stuff for them in the future. Once COVID is hopefully out of the way, we can get over to the US and do some stuff for them guys, because they've been absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. We got a good question here from Graham English. He says, what is the #1 lesson learned?
Graham's a good bloke. He's recovered from a big crash at the TT, so hope you're doing all right, Graham. #1 lesson that I've learned, so many of them, but I think the biggest one's definitely you've just got to keep a level head. You've no matter how bad it gets and how frustrated you've just got to keep a real level head there, and not let it get to you, because you get wound up for a second, it can all go horribly wrong. So yeah, that was the biggest lesson I think that I learned.
We've got a Facebook user, no name. How big as an influence was Gavin Hunt on this adventure?
Well, if I'd listened to Gav, I would have won. So Gav's one of my best mates, but yeah, Gav's good at giving out advice. But no, he's been spot on. You know, Gav's good, and I'd rather listen to Big H's dad than Gav. To be honest, he's a lot more wisdom and been and done it.
We've got Stu Mart here is saying that should say, so what good luck items did you take from the Rugrats? Fantastic result, and you still owe me a pint, Stu the dog.
Yeah, typical. Not really. I had me 3 legs a man buff neck thing. I had that. What else did they have? They give me some lucky underpants for Christmas. Just stuff, just little things, but I'm not really big on that stuff. The 3 legs thing, that's like one of the main things that I like wearing. And yeah, not too much, but it was good. Like, you know, it's a lot easier now. You've got internet when you're there, and you can speak to the kids and stuff. So, you know, it's a lot better than what it would have used to been back in the day when you're literally on your own for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And the 3 legs, whatever way you throw me, I will always stand, hey?
Yeah, definitely. So no, that's important bit of kit for me.
We got David Hewitt here saying, will you be riding with the same team next year?
Haven't a clue. Them guys were absolutely top notch, brilliant, and you know, if I was gonna do a similar thing again, then it would be definitely with Henk and them guys. Honestly, the hammering that them bikes get, and we never, touch wood, we never ever had one issue with it. You know, the guys are straight in, bike is up on the stands, pulled apart, checked over. Motor oil, they do like oil analyzing if you need it every night. So you can give them a sample of oil, they can tell what metals are in the oil, what how much silicon, which comes from dust, so how much dust you've been in, and they can get a trend on the engine to see what wear you're getting. And I was always, because I'm very mechanical, I've been a mechanic, you know, since I left school. I've always done my own bikes, and I was worried because I was trying to keep the bike, keep off the revs a lot, and try and be quite sympathetic towards it. And them guys like, no, it's honestly the bike. We've checked the oil coming out, and it's everything's perfect, like brand new. And it's hard to, trust that. But anyway, yeah, they were right. And the bike, you know, it's like brand new still. Engine sounds like brand new. It fires up straight away. There's no oil smell, and probably 70% of riders are on them KTM Huskies, and I've never seen one have a problem. So testament to them.
Got a good lead into a question actually with that. So David Inkson says, how many hours did you do on the engine, and did the bike feel heavy with all the extra kit you have to carry?
Yeah, I think obviously the hours on the bike, I think it was like, mine was brand new at the start, so we went to the test track, but it was just over 100 hours, like 108 or something like that, I think it was, that we put on the bike in 2 weeks. So, yeah, but when you're at the start of the stage, like there was I think it was on the marathon stage, the second day of that, it started off and it was really deep sand, like really deep, hard. You're on full tanks of fuel. I'm heavy anyway, like, you know, I'm just under 100 kilo. And then with all this gear on, you've got like 3 liters of drink in your Camelback. You've got your jacket on, your airbag vest weighs a load. So you're probably talking, I would say you're talking 150 kilos nearly with all my kit on for the rally, with your drink and stuff. Maybe not quite that much, but 125, 130. And then you've got 30 odd kilos of fuel. So it was a big dune at the start of this day, like probably 20 minutes in. And you think, oh yeah, you'll fly up that. And you hit it, and it was that soft, and the bike is that heavy. You just, honestly, you understand the weight of the thing then. But then later on, as the fuel goes down, you get on into the stage. It's so good, the bike. It's like, you know, it's ace. You can flick it around, you can jump it, and it just feels like a motocross bike. And then you stop for fuel again, and you set off, and you're like back to square one again. It's you've got to be careful because you hit a bump when the things are full of fuel, and it doesn't like it. But when the fuel goes down, you hit bumps, and it's like a normal bike.
We've got so many questions. We're going to do a couple more questions and show a video, and then we're going to come back and continue the questions.
Okay.
So, guys,
I'm
we're
happy
going to be
enough.
on here for a little while, entertaining David whilst he's in isolation as well, I'm sure. So please keep sharing with your friends, because we've still got a bit more time. Keep the questions coming in. We're going to get through as many of them as we possibly can. So we have a Facebook user again. Please click on the yes, it's okay to share your info to StreamYard. Click on the link and we can share your name as well. So Facebook user says, how did you find the weight off the rally bikes compared to your enduro bikes? Great question.
Yeah, like I said, then it's totally different, and you've got to respect it a lot more, because I've not really done a big lot on a rally bike at all. I had one here before, but that never got paid for, so it's still Hank's still the owner of it. So I just didn't want to ride it and put hours on it, you know, because they're worth a lot of money. They're not a cheap thing. So I didn't really ride it too much, and the surprising when like I said in the last question, when they're low on fuel, they're just like a normal bike, apart from your navigation on the front. That doesn't move, so you can't see the front turning. So that's the hardest thing to get used to. But when you ride them a few times, you get used to that. And then when the fuel's down, you could go around a motocross track, where I have done. You've gone around a motocross track at, a few seconds slower than you would on a motocross bike. So they're an impressive piece of kit.
We've got Liz Neville says, how did you manage for food? Do you carry it, or is it supplied?
You had some energy bars and stuff, which I've never really used anything like that before. All the years I ride, I just take some M&Ms or something with me, old school. But I had some energy bars with me. I had when Jamie went out, Jamie gave me some drink that's got like all your food supplements in. So I just put that in my Camelback, and just had that, and that was it really. And then the good thing was, you got to the end of the day, you pulled in, and they check all your GPS and everything, and they give you a goodie bag every day with crisps in, chocolate bars, tinned food. So I would like get that flat out straight to the truck, give the bike to the mechanics, and I'd just sit down and stuff all these chocolate biscuits and that in me, and Kinders, and it was ace. So you got that. Everyone got that every day, and a can of Coke, and it was honestly, after a long day, it was so nice just to have that. So that was worth the entry fee in itself.
We'll do one more question before we're going to show stage 5 video in a sec. So we have one more question. How did you find using the road book? We've got to go on to that question, haven't we? So the navigation.
Yeah. The road book, it's a lot better than I thought it would be, when I've looked at it in the past and I didn't understand the thing of it. But the road book itself is not so bad. The problem is it's reading all the information when you're riding, and riding fast. So, and the other problem we've got, being English, it's all in French. So when it goes digital next year, it'll be a lot easier, because then it'll be in English as well, which will help like us a lot more. But yeah, when you've just got simple things on the road book, it's not so bad. You're riding along and you'll have a quick glance and like, right, I've got that. And when I first started, you've got 3 boxes, you've got 3 squares. So I was always reading the top one and then move it up and reading that one, where now I'll read the top one and the middle one, and I'll look at the bottom one. And when I've gone past what the top one is, then I'll move it up. So I'll go off the middle one, which took a bit to get my head around, but as the rally went on, I was getting more comfortable with it. So the road book itself is not, you've just got to look at it properly. Like even the last day I didn't look at it. And that's where Sam Sunderland messed up and got lost. And he did exactly the same as what I did. Probably followed a few tracks and didn't look at the road book right, and actually went round the back of a big rock to get a waypoint. And so many people missed it. Some didn't even get it. We went back, but yeah, you've just got to look at it properly. But the GPS thing and the info on that, and then you've got your beepers for your danger, you've got your beeper for your speed zone, you've got beepers for if a car comes behind you. So there's just so much going on. You know, you've got like 10 different things going on at sometimes, and that's the hard bit. That's where it's hard. It's not just the navigating, or it's not just that. It's doing everything and trying to ride fast, and that way it gets dangerous. You know, I've never wrecked so many front rims in my life as what I have at the Dakar. I was coming in every day and a massive big ding in the front wheel from, you know, looking at the road book and hitting a rock. And you know, it scares you a bit. You're looking down and like bang, and the bike's up in the air, and you hit a rock. And so yeah, it's not so easy.
Just to add off on the back of that, David, we've got Graham English saying, can you explain, is the road book the only guidance you have, and is it all you're allowed to use?
Yeah, and what's amazing is the top guys, you know, like Nacho Cornetto, I call him, the Honda lad from Chile who was led until like 3 days from the end, and then unfortunately he crashed out. But lovely lad. I was chatting to him at the start of one of the stages, but he opened. I think it was like 4 days to the end, and he won the stage. So he had to open the next day, and it was a hard day as well. It was really hard navigation. He did the whole thing on his own. He finished third on the stage with the next guy, and then he was 3 minutes ahead of the next guy. So I think he lost the stage by like a minute and a half or 2 minutes. But that to me is unbelievable, when how fast he had to ride and open all that on his own, and not one tire track. And you know, that's where you see how skillful them boys are, and that's what the advantage is at living in like Chile, Argentina, them big places. They can, you know, they can replicate a day of the Dakar and train it. So yeah, it's honestly, it's so impressive.
Brilliant. All right, so we're going to show a bit more footage. Just to remind everyone, we have so much content on our YouTube channel of David's behind the scenes access that he gave us whilst he was out there in the Dakar. So please do make sure, if you haven't seen it all, there's so much to catch up on to keep you entertained, whether you're in lockdown or not. And the great Classic Car Club in Manhattan, obviously, for a fantastic production help when it came to putting that content out there. So we're going to show you Stage 5's video right now. Just remember, though, we are going to come back for more questions, and we are going to be sharing the link for you to join us in the studio if you want to join myself and David and ask the good man himself the questions that you have ready for him. Here we go, Stage 5.
Just a little bit more navigation. They made yesterday. They said it was just an easy flat out stage, and now they already say keep your concentration.
On a day like this, I think you just got to go like solid.
Yeah.
And just concentrate all day. Get to the finish today, and then everything ready, and then do the same again tomorrow.
Yeah. You don't feel the pressure from people telling you have to go faster or something. That's perfect.
Nothing.
That's good.
You've got to push on a little bit,
yeah.
But then at the same time you have to think about the long game.
We have doctor on the team. That's very. Let's make it some release. For the muscle. Yeah, it's always. On the 50. Morning. Today it's 150. Hopefully to back and safe. Everything is good. And finishing the line.
Here we are in the middle of Saudi Arabia, industrial park, yeah? And all these guys are all friends, and they've invited us in to be friendly. They've showed us into their shops. Everybody's chatting, everybody friendly, proper cool place. Welcome to Saudi Arabia. It's awesome.
It's bloody freezing. Like 2 hours, 20 minutes or something. About 120k for freezing it hits up.
And with the big dunes, or what with the?
And everything. The ones that I'd rained on were ace. There was like loads of grip on them. I was riding them really well, but the real soft ones, you're just wary. You just don't want to. Every time we go off a drop, I feel it. I'm like, oh, my ribs. But I'm just scared to come and crashing and smack them again. Just took it steady through them bits, but I was happy enough with that. I rode well. Just need to get rid of them little errors. It's hard as well, I think, when you start getting your brain into it, and then later on when you get going, you get into a bit of a rhythm.
The great Billy Bike Truck Ward with you as well.
That's the first time I've seen that, and it's good to watch what them boys are up to when we were riding, gooning around.
He's got some groovy hips there as well, hasn't he? Eh?
Yeah, the last thing you want to see, isn't it?
Never, of course. It was great to have Billy there with you because you obviously knew him before as well, so it must have been a nice to have with you out there.
Yeah, he was ace, and it was nice having someone there, just to have a chat with and have a laugh and just keep your mind off everything. But that must have been the cold day when I come in, so I remember it when freezing. But yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks for that great edit. That is absolutely fantastic. All right, guys. So remember, keep the questions coming in. We've got lots we're going to get through now, but we're going to be sharing a link as well. So you can actually join us in the studio as long as you've got Google Chrome on your device, and you can maybe get some earphones as well. You can click on the link and we'll bring you into backstage. And then our great producer in the back there, Aid, will bring you into the studio and you can ask David your question, right? So let's get on with it then, shall we? We've got BD Drone here. He said, hi, David, congratulations.
Thank you.
How much engine work needed to be done over the rally?
Nothing.
So
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, that's I was saying before, the Yeah, the bikes are, them rally bikes are big money to buy, and all the engine stuff in a KTM Huskies or Pankel, which is an Austrian company, real high quality crankshaft, piston, gearbox, everything. So yeah, it's unbelievable really that you can do 100 and some hours riding hard, change oil on them, and that's it, you know. So we were good. Obviously, not all the manufacturers had the same fortune as what we did, you know. But yeah, bikes are incredible.
It's a shame to see Jamie, wasn't it, go out? Was it stage 5 with mechanical issues?
Yeah, and Yamaha had a nightmare with it all, you know. But it just shows you, you know, just shows you it can go wrong, and I think it's just one of them things, really. But that was why all along that I wanted, you know, if I was going to do it as a privateer, I knew I had to be on a KTM Husky. And, you know, you could go and buy a Yamaha or a Honda or something like a normal enduro bike and convert it like a lot of people do. But for me, that was a you know, a big no. It was a proper rally bike, or for myself, my point of view, you're wasting your time.
Well, we've got BD Drone again. He just wanted to add to the question he just gave you there. He wanted to say you did more miles in 2 weeks than I've done green lane in the last 3 years. Love it. AD Smith says, what would you have done differently? Or what would you do differently next time if you go back, or when you go back in 2022?
Right, Aid's he's been British Enduro champion, and that knows how to ride. I think that the big thing was just to get to the finish, get the monkey off your back, you know. So many people have had a go at it and not got to the finish. Good riders, you know, and you look at the cars like Sebastian Loeb, best rally driver there's probably ever been, and he's yet to win the Dakar, and he's struggling with it, you know, with navigation, with going that fast, going too fast, and he's breaking the car. So I think next time I would just, obviously I know where my weaknesses are, so I'd try and tidy up on that and get my navigation better, do a lot more training for that. But I think I would push on a lot more the next time where I feel comfortable. Where I don't feel comfortable, I wouldn't. But in the rocky parts, like I felt really good in them, and I was literally trail riding them still. So I think I could be quite smart and you know, be careful on the stuff that I didn't feel comfortable on and push more on the others. But navigation's definitely the massive thing that I'm lacking 100%.
We've got Mark Morris here, says, it's a nice question. Did you manage to glance at the beauty of the scenery at all? So did you get any time to do
good
that?
question. Yeah, I did. And, you know, you're riding along, and I've never seen landscapes like it. And especially when we got up at Neom, I think it was up the very top of the loop that we did. And that was by the coast. We were up there, and then we were riding. It was like real nice sand, but with big rocks like balancing, you know. And you're riding, and you're just like, right, I need to take a bit of time here and have a skeet. And I did. And there was like 2 or 3 of us riding, and we were just like, whoa, look at that. And it was beautiful, you know. And that was one of the things that, you know, I've learned over the years, that when I was racing World Enduro, you sort of never looked at anything. You just race the track as hard as you could. So that's something that's important now, to, you know, to take stuff in like that, because you don't get the opportunity very often.
Great. Okay, we've got Gotta Hurt from YouTube saying, how did Mallet Head and Big Nose get on? Did they finish?
Did who? Sorry?
Mallet Head and Big Nose get on.
I don't know who that is.
Okay. Mike, please let us know, Gotta Hurt. Please fill us in a bit more with that.
Yeah.
So Mike Smith said, did you think top 10 is possible next year? Do you think top 10 is possible next year?
No, not really. It depends. Like with all the COVID thing and that, you know, no one knows what rally's going to be on, and the only way you can get the experience is to go and do rallies. So I think I could have top 10 stages. I think I could do that if I had enough, you know, get more experience. But honestly, I think the big thing is do I want to push that hard to get in the top 10? And at the minute, no, I don't. You know, it's every one of them guys in the top 10 has had massive injuries from getting there. I'm at the point in my career where I don't need that, and I don't want it. But I could go there, and you know, like we were talking about out there, there was one day that was really dangerous, and even if you went slow, it was dangerous, and you were hitting rocks you couldn't see in the sand. But I used to get people saying to me, "Oh, he's crazy, you know, he's winning that special test in the World Enduro." Canada was a standout one. I was pulling like 45, 50 seconds on one test on everyone, and people said, "Oh, he's going to kill himself. He's, you know, he's absolutely. How's he going that fast?" And when that time in my career, I was literally trail riding around the tests, having fun, and I didn't have one near miss anywhere. It was just, you know, and when you're in that place, you know, it's tough to get there, and not many people do get in that situation. But them top guys like Benavides and that are obviously in that place where they're riding fast, but they're comfortable with it, and everything's just clicking. And but it's just the unknown that, you know, I don't know that terrain well enough yet, and I can't read the terrain well enough to go and say, right, yeah, I can get in the top 10, because honestly, it ain't going to happen. Not at this moment in time. Maybe like the TT, maybe in 4 or 5 years, but at this present time, no. The guys are, you know, I respect them guys enough to know that that they're pushing on, and they're becoming good at what they do.
All right, we've got loads more. We've got Dean Lilia. I think that is right. Dean, do you think there should be a veterans class for the 6th day with AD Smith?
Over 60s. I don't know if he's that old yet. Sorry, Aid. They've got one in World Championship, and it'd be ace for like people like that. But you know, like I done it over 37 or whatever it was last year, and it was brilliant. You know, getting the old guys back out. There was some, you know, vets that are over 50 that were riding, and yeah, and the 6th day would be perfect to do it. But the good thing with the 6th day anyway is anyone can go and ride it. You can have your 20-year-old World Championship guys, and you can have your 60-year-old hobby rider. So that's a good thing with the 6th day enduro anyway.
And we've got a great question here by Sven Waddle. I'm not doing great with the pronunciation of these names. Sven says, you said watching Carlos Sainz come in the Mini was scary. Tell us about the cars and the ducks. There's some great videos of you like dancing with them, really, wasn't there? Jeez, what was it like?
Yeah, it was. It's scary when one of them things is behind you and you're in the sand dunes, because they can't see a thing. You drop over one of the sand dunes and have a little crash, you know, one of them is going to be over the top off you, and it really is that close and that sketchy. And you know, I know how to ride a bike, and you go over a sand dune, and you're like, you know, it makes you really nervous. We had that first time that Sainz went past me, was actually when I broke my ribs. It was there, but the noise and the smell when you're there, like the race fuel in them, and honestly, it blew me away. It was a crap situation to be in, but at the same time, it was unbelievable experience to see and to be in. And as the rally went on, we were like second to last day was probably my favourite day of the rally. It was it was the longest stage, and Nasser Al-Attiyah caught up, and
we were in these big sand dunes, and he come past us, and then it went a lot more technical. And me and Paul, who was in the same team as me, we went back past him. And he was like happy. I think he was happy to follow us because we seen him after, and he was like thumbs up. And there's a lot of big holes in the sand dunes. It's weird. It's like almost like a mud hole, but it's not mud. It's just real soft, deep sand. And I don't know how they form, or whatever, but they get them. And if you rode into one of them on a bike, like one of the top guys was stuck in one for like 20 minutes. People were stuck in them for hours. Well, if you went in one of them in a car, that could be the end of your rally. You know, they're a weird looking thing. Anyway, I think he was just glad to follow us, and it was good, but it was scary at the same time. But there's a video I've got of him behind us, and I'm looking behind me. But what an experience! Like the noise and smell out of them things, and the speed that they go, and the dunes are massive. You know, they're dead steep. You go up them, and it's bad on a bike. And them guys are like drifting them pickups and buggies over the things, like literally lock to lock. They're doing one way, and they're flicking it the other way and drifting off the next one, and then they're back that way. And we probably had half an hour off it watching, and it was amazing. It was so good. But them guys are more skilled than I ever thought they were as well. Them drivers.
Brilliant. Russell Webb says, great achievement, well done. What's the plan for next year? We've kind of touched on that, but I guess what's the plan for this year? But we can touch on that maybe. What's next for you at this point?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know yet. We just need to sit down and go through stuff. And but for the rest of the year, I want to do some of the West Enduros, maybe some World Enduros, mix it up a little bit. You know, I love just doing different events, and 6-day Enduro. That's me and Jamie were talking about this, and maybe having an Isle of Man club team again. Me, Jamie, and maybe Danny or something like that. It would be ace in Italy, one of the most beautiful places you can ride an enduro bike. We've all had a bit of a success there, and so the 6-day Enduro would be ace to go and to do that in October or September, whenever it is. But we'll see. Everything depends on this virus.
We've got Nick Staveley says, get on, Nighter lad. Hill climbs on, with laughing faces.
Yeah, that's on. That was a hill climb in Yorkshire that they have, and there's like thousands of people go and watch it. And we went and did it. Well, not last year, the year before now, and it was absolutely brilliant. It's like on a Thursday night, thousands of people, middle of Yorkshire Dales, big hill climb racing head to head, and just one of them events. It's so good fun. Everyone has a good laugh, and if that's on, we'll be going to that, definitely.
We've got Mark Morris here saying some of the scenery was awesome. Did you manage to take quick guts? We've just answered that. And we've got Pat Dobb says, when will you put the Ironman of Enduro on YouTube? Okay. And then
it's actually on Amazon. I seen it the other week. So it's on Amazon, so no excuse.
And Nick Walsh says, is this fair to say you've gone out there, learned a lot, and that's all you could ask for, really?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I knew what it sort of was going to be like, and it was an unbelievable experience. But you learn. I even learned quite a lot the last day, which was, it's not surprising because you're always learning, but I learned quite a lot the last day, and it was quite satisfying in a way. So yeah, brilliant.
We've got another Facebook user here saying, was your experience starting as a trials rider? I haven't even had a beer. That's probably what I need. Trials rider, the best way to start? Yeah,
for me, trials gives you that everything, it gives you every skill that you need on a motorbike. And Hailey will tell us about tomorrow if she does hers. But it's definitely, definitely the best place to start, for anything, even cars included. I think it gives you that throttle control, clutch control, and you can convert that to anything you want: enduro, motocross, road racing, car rallying. I think it's definitely the best start.
We've got Sammy Reed here saying, with it being the first year using a tablet for navigation, did the two guys struggle too much, and was it something you could grasp easier? Quite sure what she's.
No, I think she means that they were gonna have electronic road book this year, but they didn't. It's going to be next year now. So, but that'll be interesting. I think it'll be easier for us because it'll be in English. So we don't need to go back and learn French properly. But yeah, we'll see.
So in the bivouac, they print them out, don't they? In the bivouac every day, and then they hand them to you. Is that how it works?
You get handed it. This year was the first time they've done it. They did it a little bit last year, but you get the road book 20 minutes before you start the stage. So it probably takes 10 minutes to put it in. Yeah. So you're literally putting it in. I was marking the dangers as I was putting it in. So we had places where there was dangerous parts or whatever on the road book at, like, say, kilometer 91.2 and kilometer 98.3. So I would highlight them. So when you got to that point, or if it was difficult navigation as well, I would just highlight it. And when you got to that point, you were like, right, need to pay attention even more than now, and almost like I was stopping sometimes and looking at it and and find the right way. So yeah, that was definitely something I learned and helped a lot.
I saw a documentary we were talking about the other night, and he described it as the rider at the Dakar described it as a texting your missus whilst riding 120 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
It's like driving and doing whatever you're not supposed to be doing, and it does. It makes it dangerous, 100%.
We've got Kaz Gross said, "Did you miss bacon butties night? To be truthful."
Yeah, definitely.
We've got.
I still haven't had one, actually.
Oh, what? What's that all about?
I know. I'll have to get on that, won't I?
Yeah, definitely. You deserve it. Bloody hell.
I'll put my order in. I could probably manage. I think I can cook one of them as well. I'm not, been on cereal.
Peter Carla says, "What's the difference with the letters on your number and others? Square foot likely won't know. Square foot likely won't brownie." It's a joke.
What's that with the?
We've got, what's the difference with the letters on your number and others? Square foot likely won't know. Is that earning?
Oh, the letters on your number. No, that's brownie from across. That's like your production class or whatever. You've got you had a couple of letters on the front number. So I think one was could be like stock class. Another one was like newcomer. That's all that was. So you could tell, and the colour of your number defines what class you're in as well.
Okay, fab.
Or your background.
We've got a fan here. Someone join us in the studio. Good evening.
I'm in the studio. It's me.
Good evening. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Hello. We've got the name Dongle on this. Oh, hello. Hopefully they'll be joining us again soon. We've got a few more questions here, though. So let's keep sharing this with your friends, tagging them in, getting them to join in the conversation. We've got the great man here, so let's take advantage of firing your questions at him. So we've got a hurt. David, when you're home, I challenge you to a pie eating contest at Sulby. Dewin's not invited because he'll win.
Yeah, Dewan will win. Yeah, I'm off the pies since Arkwright went and closed down. I'm losing weight rapidly.
So did you lose much weight then when you were out there? Did you drop a lot?
Well, in lockdown, I did a lot of training and stuff in March, April time, and I dropped about just over stone and a half. And then at Christmas, I put half a stone on near enough. I was just like, right, I think it's good to get plenty in me and stick a bit of weight on again before the Dakar. And then when I come back, I'm like, yeah, stone lighter again. So down to like normally I've always been around 16 stone, but I'm down to like 15.4 when I finish the race. So yeah, lightweight again now. But
Very good.
no, it's surprising because you're eating a fair lot, but obviously you're riding a fair lot as well. So you're burning plenty off.
Your energy out is way over your energy in, isn't it? So we got Cobalt
Yeah.
Motorcyclist here as a great effort at the Dakar 2021, David, with a smiley face. We've got AD Smith again is asking a great question. Did you spend much time riding in the dark, and how quick could you go with those rally lights? Great question.
Yeah, in the mornings, Aid, it was, and the motorways over there is like big holes and stuff in them. So we'd be literally on the motorway, and when you had street lights on them, it was fine. But a lot of it, I was putting clear lenses in for the road sections because you were starting in the dark. And the lights, no, they weren't the best. And it was hard, going along. You're limited to 130, otherwise you get fined and time penalties. So I was literally going along at 110 at first, and then everyone was passing me. So in the end, I was going along at like 120, like everyone else. But it's fast when you're on them little roads and it's dark and there's big potholes and there's like they love the speed bumps over there. So you'd be going along and you'd hit one of them and you'd be like flying off the seat and like, but I reckon they were savage as well. They were like big speed bumps. So yeah, it wasn't the nicest thing, to be honest, but as soon as the sun was up, it was all right.
And then your ribs were like,
yeah, your back and ribs were getting it on them speed bumps. Yeah, nightmare.
So we're just going to have one more question, guys, and then we've got a couple of special things to show you before we close off. And then we've got Pat Dubb saying, did you keep in touch with Tara Geiger?
No.
That correctly. And final one, got a hurt from YouTube. David, when you're home, we've got that's the pie eating contest. So I'm going to give you one more question. So you had a few battles with Laia Sands, right? So
yeah.
How was it? She's a pretty special female rider for me. Like she's phenomenal.
She's unbelievable. Honestly, like I've known Laia for years, and obviously she come from trials as well. I was going to say that before.
Yeah.
And there was a point, I think it was like 2010 World Enduro, and she'd come from trials and she was struggling on the motocross side of it. So we would go to the practice track and I would try and help her a little bit. And, obviously she's always been really talented. That's 11th Dakar and she's finished every one of them. But when you're riding with her, she just rides so well. Like, she's fast. People might say, oh, she's not that fast. She's good at navigation. She's bloody really fast. And, unbelievable how good she has become at rallying, because she's come from trials and that she's never done motocross, but just strong. It was funny because I had a problem with this guy. He was a Polish guy and he was out of the rally and he restarted and he was just filling it full of dust. And the day that we got lost, there was like 4 or 5 offers. We found a way and this guy tagged on the back of his and then it blasted past Laia and just filled her in with dust. And he was doing the same to me. He was a nightmare. So I got a little bit sort of angry with him and had a bit of a do at him at one of the checkpoints. And then Laia come over and I thought she was going to rip his head off. And she was proper. Honestly, I was like, but my neck. I was a bit tame with him. And she just had a proper do at him. And rightly so as well, because he was out, he was in the experience thing. And I think he got the message eventually, and then he was out of control. And then I think the last day he had a massive crash. He finished, but he had a massive crash. But it was a long time coming because, yeah. But no, she's definitely special, you know. I would rank her, you know, really highly with your Tony Bow and that type. You know, she's obviously a very special lady that can, you know, that's gone into a generally a male dominated sport, and done what she's done, and yeah, hats off to her.
We've got our hurts getting involved in this chat. Never mind the Dakar. Any chance you're going to buy a round in the Mitre?
Anyone that knows me, no, I won't be doing that. No, I might do. I think I'll be tempted now for everyone helping. I'll have to go in. We'll have to have someone. We'll have to have a party on.
Absolutely. We had Grant Hollis on here. He's a good supporter of TSOM and has been with yourself as you've been out there at the Dakar. He said once we're released into the wild, we're going to have a big party at the Ginger. So
yeah, might not fit everyone in there.
Oh yeah, onto the streets. So Emma was back here supporting you with the rest of the family as well, and homeschooling the kids in the end with the lockdown happening on the Isle of Man. So obviously very proud of you, and there's a fantastic picture of them all with Torrin.
The little fella pulling his face. Yeah, he's not normally like that. He's just like but no, he's a character. He's been on FaceTime with me, and he's like, I think it's something new that he's learned, and he's just doing it all the time down the phone, pulling faces and laughing, and yeah, he's a little bugger. But yeah, it'd be ace to get back home, and like, you know, people talk about what I've done at Dakar, and you know, for people in situation like us, and there's a lot of single parents and stuff that, you know, it isn't easy. You know, I know Emma's had a hard time with it, and she's done an excellent job with it all. 3 kids and single mother really while I've been away, and so hats off to all your single mums and dads out there that are doing the same thing, because I know it isn't easy at all. So they're the real heroes.
Brilliant. Well, David, it's been a bloody pleasure as always to check in with you, and it feels like I'm sat there having a beer or a brew or something with you and just hearing your stories, and I'm looking forward to hearing way more as well.
Yeah, there's millions of stories to tell, and yeah, just a quick funny one that Solomon that was riding in our team, he's from Bahrain, and he found out he was a policeman. You would never think so. Anyway, he's a policeman in Bahrain, so he didn't finish the Dakar last year, and he come back. So the police said, right, well, the boss man, the prince or whatever of Bahrain said, oh, you can't come to work anymore. You have to train for the Dakar. So he just said he spent his time in bars drinking and smoking. And then no one from Bahrain's ever finished a Dakar Rally. So he's there, and he's a right good crack, good laugh. And then Walter that was riding, he said, oh, do you know, if he finishes the rally, and the prince of Bahrain was following him around in a helicopter, you know, the whitest shirt you've ever seen in your life. He was flying around, and he was coming up to us, and, oh, David, how are you? And yeah, so they were going around in a helicopter, and there was Bahrain flags everywhere for Solomon. Anyway, so Walter said, do you know he gets a second wife? They'll give him like prince status and give him a second wife if he finishes. And I was laughing, thought you were joking, and serious. He was all, when he finished the race, now I can have a second wife, and I'm a hero in Bahrain and that. And honestly, you've never seen anything like it. And I was like, I think I would not bother going home if I got a second wife. One's bad enough.
Never. Brilliant. Love
so yeah, there's all sorts of stuff, but yeah, brilliant. You know, you get to meet new people, and definitely characters about.
characters from all over the world. So we've got Billy was there with you shooting not only all the behind the scenes stuff, but also collating film really to create a documentary on the whole journey and the whole mission, because you don't only have the mission in the desert, but there's quite the story you actually just get in there, which we're going to cover all of it, aren't we? So this is really just tonight with an opportunity for the fans to get a bit of access to check in with you, which has been great. But yes, guys, we've got this documentary that eventually we're going to be creating. Once we've got all of the footage, we brought it back, and we kind of can figure out how we can share it with you. And we cannot wait to share the full story with you, because it's been a corker.
No, and I can't, it's part of, everyone's been really, on top of this with me from the start, from the whole GoFund thing. And I want to share everything with everyone. And, this has gone quick, but we'll definitely get some more on, and, and have some things on over here when we can, get a big room on and get some stories going and people asking questions. I can't wait. It'll be good to share it with everyone.
Absolutely. And we can't wait to see what's next for you as well. But just get yourself through isolation. Everybody, make sure you keep those words of encouragement and messages to David, because he is there. He's locked away, and any help and support that you can keep and him entertained for the next week or so, then please do. I'm sure you'll be grateful for it, David.
Yes,
so thank you for everything. It's been absolutely a supporting year, and just documenting it and following the story as a fan, as a Manxie, and also just part of our team. We've loved it. So there's so much more to come. So your favorite bit, looking back now, your favorite part of the whole experience, what would you take away?
So much, honestly. There's not one thing that was favorite. Obviously, coming to the finish line was massive. That was emotional, and the last sort of few kilometers, you could see where you were going to finish. It was really fast, and just rolled the throttle off and just tried to enjoy it. So that was definitely a massive high. But the whole thing, from the whole GoFund thing to getting there, to so much about it. So we'll keep on doing all these, and keep everyone up to date with everything.
Definitely. David, thank you so much. I'm going to let you get back
thanks
to
everyone
of Netflix. You get those bacon butties on the go in the morning.
I know, yeah, good idea. So no, thanks everyone, and just keep up to date with everything, and we'll get some more of these on the go. Thank you.
Take care, David.
Cheers, and you, Hailey.
So remember, everyone, we've got plenty of content covering David from when he was in the Dakar, and lots more coming your way as well. Now, tonight, we actually have an exclusive. So we are premiering the first episode of a new series that we're launching on the YouTube channel. And the series is called Bringing It Home. So without further ado, this is the first episode. We hope you enjoy it. Please let us know what you think of it. This is the premiere, and we're very excited. We've got plenty more where these came from. So thank you to everyone for tuning in, for sharing your questions and your support for David over the last few weeks. My name's Hailey Coxon, and this was the Spirit of Motorsport TV. On our first episode of Bringing It Home, we are thrilled to announce that Mrs. Tosh Ray will be joining us from her home just outside of Belfast that she shares with 6 times World Superbike champion, Mr. Johnny Ray, and their 2 gorgeous sons. Now, Tosh had quite the career before she met Johnny in motorsport, so she'll be sharing some of her stories of that time and, of course, of stories in the paddock, traveling the world and on the road with Johnny and the family. Tosh Ray, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for our new series, Bringing It Home, and our first episode in celebration of women in motorsport. So thank you so much. I know you've had an incredible story to tell before you met Johnny, which you're going to share with us today on the episode. You've been kind enough to send some pictures over to us, which has been so much fun to go through your experience over the last few years. So we're going to touch on those very soon. But welcome and thank you so much. You're coming in from Ireland today, is that right?
That's right. Yes, I am just on the outskirts of Belfast.
And you're there with family? Of course, it's our absolute pleasure. So you're there with the family today? Is everybody there at home?
I should have two little ones at school. I've only got one at school, and I've got a husband that's training hard on the Swift downstairs in the garage as we speak.
Fantastic. All right, great. Well, Tosh, I'm really, really keen to get going and sharing your story. So the idea behind Bringing It Home, we know all about the men and obviously the achievements that Johnny has got before you met and also whilst you've been together. And what's really important from our side from telling the story and bringing it home is the importance of the stories behind the women that are supporting the men to get to their successes. And yourself, you had an incredible story in the paddock before you met Johnny. It's not just successes, it's the challenges that come with living in the paddock and living with that traveling circus, I guess, in a way. So let's go back, if you don't mind. We're going to go back to, we have a few sections to the show today. And the first section we want to cover is a woman in a man's world. So you're from Phillip Island.
I am.
Stunning
yes,
place.
Yeah.
So tell us how you ended up.
Well, Phillip Island, for those people who don't know, I always say Phillip Island is famous for 2 things. The penguins, they've got the little fairy penguins, and obviously the motorcycle racetrack, which has been used, for many, many years for MotoGP and World Superbikes. So growing up on Phillip Island, I didn't really have any interest in motorcycles. It just meant that our island became really super busy. For about a week, and 2 times a year, you would just get an influx of bikes, a bit like the way the TT brings all that revenue and all the tourism to the Isle of Man. So I just sort of plodded along, but I worked in I waitressed in an Italian restaurant that was down on the seafront there. And that was my sort of student job, because I was studying in Melbourne, doing a degree in marketing and PR, and I would waitress in this restaurant all summers and during peak periods and long weekends. And obviously World Superbikes was one of those weekends where it was really, really busy. And all the bike teams would come in because they always find an Italian restaurant around the world. And I happened to be like running around and, you know, waitressing. And I was actually serving a table with a couple of riders, and I didn't know who anyone was. It didn't make a difference to me. But there was this sort of older gentleman who was he was a gentleman, and he was polite, and he knew that I was like super busy because it was the end of a test, and they were like, all the boys were wanting to drink and they were letting their hair down a little bit. So he came in behind the bar and helped me serve some drinks to people like Colin Edwards, and I think it was even back in the day that Scott Russell was maybe at the end of his career. Anyway, a couple of names that were quite big names back then. I didn't know who they were. And Chris ended up being Chris Herring. He was one of the senior marketing directors for Castro Honda, one of the best teams. And like I said, he was a gentleman. He wasn't doing all that pervy thing or anything like that. Sounds a bit dodgy. But he started to chat to me about like life. And I thought, he's very articulate. You know, he's not a rider and he's not a mechanic. What sort of job does he have? And he turned around and said, I'm a marketing and PR manager for the team. So of course, my little brain, like second year marketing student, I just thought, oh, wow. I said, so you travel around the world and get paid for it, you know, doing marketing? And he said, yeah. And I thought, what a great job. Anyway, he handed me over a business card, probably reluctantly, probably to tell me to be quiet. But he actually said, you know, they employ people from all over the world every year. You know, they get people asking for a job. So I went back that morning after I'd finished work and wrote this fax to a general manager called Neil Tuxworth, based in Lincolnshire in the UK, and asked him for a job. I was 19 at the time. So I was in second year university, and I didn't hear anything back, but it was probably a couple of months went by. They actually came back for the race, and this little like man tapped me on the shoulder when I was waitressing again. And he said, are you Tash? Because he wouldn't call me Tash because he's from the north, and obviously they don't like saying Tash because it sounds too posh. So he ended up tapping me on the shoulder and said, like, what I got your text, your fax. Why would you want to work with us? You know, let's have a chat about it. And I said, well, I just want to travel, basically. I was really honest. I said, I have no idea about motorbikes, but I love people. I'm organized. I'm ambitious. I'm studying PR and marketing, and I just want to get out of here. I was from a small town, and I just thought, I want to go in. And I was always a bit of a tomboy as well. So the idea of working with men didn't, you know, deter me. I wasn't scared to sort of pack my bags and head over the other side of the world with, I think it was 50 blokes. But the following year they took me on. So it was wonderful. Like, it was a big eye opener. You know, the fact that I came from this sleepy little town in Australia and then ended up, you know, in England for working for this race team. And then we did about 14 races around the world. And it was just like this crazy traveling circus. So from being a pretty mundane life of student life plus waitressing on my weekends to get by, I suddenly was earning pounds and, you know, having to work with all these blokes. And I cottoned on quite quick. I had my intuition switched on. I didn't sort of play the game. I made sure that I kept myself pretty tuned in and just not sort of available, because boys in that world, you know, I kind of put up a bit of a hard ass barrier, but I loved it, and it was a big learning curve. So that was
a woman after my own heart. Yeah, traveling, motorsport, I love it. Now it resonates with me, your story, and the fact that when I was in the paddock full-time pit lane reporting, I'd get a lot of women saying, oh, how is that as a woman working in that environment, working around all those men? You know, you mustn't get treated very well, you mustn't get. I'm like, well, no, I love it. I love it because I see it for what it is. I see it because I'm able to travel, to work in an environment that I have a passion for motorsport, passion for people like yourself.
You constantly hear these stories about, you know, sexual harassment, and the world that we live in today, you know, you have to be so careful with the way you talk to people and treat people. But, you know, motorsport for me was, you know, if you have respect for yourself, and as a woman, I always had a lot. That's probably the key thing. Have a lot of respect for yourself and have respect for others. And I really didn't ever get in a compromising position where people would abuse me or put me in a awkward position, because I think I gave off that vibe where I did have respect for myself, and I wasn't there to sleep with guys left, right, and center just because I was a woman in a man's world. In fact, I was the opposite. I would have rather been a mate of all the guys than I was, I wasn't really interested in being one of their subject matters. I wanted them to chat, and I used to hear all their dirty stories and laugh along with them, because I just became one of the boys. And it was just, I would rock up to work with like cargo trousers on and oversized shirts, and I didn't really want that attention as a woman. And then I remember turning up to races sometimes, and I'd have been backpacking. I was like renowned and nicknamed as the backpacker, because I was so into traveling that in between races I would nick off to certain things and tour around. But I turned up to a certain race and it was really hot, and I think I just had like a vest top on, and I wouldn't say I had my boobs out, but I just had a tight vest top on. And I remember one of the guys just looked and said, "Oh my gosh," they just couldn't stop staring at my boobs. And I was just like, I actually said to one of the guys, listen to me here, right? I said, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You can stare at these things that I have. Yes, I am a woman. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Stare at them, and then we're going to move on. Okay? So I do have a pair of boobs. I am a girl that works in here, and then let's just go over it. So then I went and put my shirt on, and then they treated me like one of the boys again. So yeah, it's one of them.
So you traveled so much then before you met Johnny. So you traveled with Castrol Honda. You were also with Formula One, weren't you? If you look back, you've worked with some incredible people over the years. Is there memories or funny stories that really stand out, that make you laugh out loud, that you can share with us? And you're okay sharing with us, to be honest.
Yeah.
That really stands out if I was to ask you that question.
Oh, look, I met some amazing people all over the world. I think motorsport as a community has such interesting characters, and from the older ones to the younger ones, and from riders to mechanics and engineers. So my Formula One experience was really different actually from bikes, and if I'm honest, I much prefer the bikes to Formula One. So I did 3 years in Castrol Honda World Superbikes. And then I actually went and lived in London for a few years and worked for an agency that represented the PR for Lucky Strike BAR Honda. And it was just a completely different world in terms of budgets, and the way Formula One was very much orientated with a business and corporate sponsorship. And, it was very, very money orientated, and it was a show, whereas I felt like bikes was a bit more raw. It was like real people, and it was just easier to have a good time. We all had such a good time, running around in the paddocks and getting drunk and staying in someone's motorhome that you shouldn't, and then having to turn up to photo shoots the next day. And I remember once I wasn't a girl about the paddock at all, but I did end up in a few places where it looked worse than it was. And I had a photo shoot at Brands Hatch really early one morning, and I literally got out of a motorhome, and I thought, we didn't even go to sleep. We got to the point where, what it's like in summertime, it was like light at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we had to be back at the circuit on a Monday morning at about 7:30 for a photo shoot. So there was a couple of me and a couple of the boys, mechanics, mates of mine, and we just said, look, there's no point going back to the hotel. We can't get back. We'll just stay here. I had a black skirt on, fortunately, or a black dress, I think. Anyway, I went and knocked on the motorhome of our rider at the time, who was Aaron Slight, and I had to do the walk of shame. Not that I was out with someone else. It just looked bad. But I knocked on his door and I said, can I borrow a shirt, please, Aaron? Because I need it for the photo shoot. And I had to grab his shirt, put it over the top of my dress, tie it up, and turned up to this photo shoot. And all the boys just like ripped into me because, of course, I looked like the dirty stop out. So we had loads of good fun stories, and Formula One was the same. I was traveling around doing lots of sort of more corporate PR events, but it was much more professional. Formula One, professional is probably the wrong word. It was, yeah, you had to. It wasn't sort of as party orientated, and but it was a brilliant job. We did some. I used to actually have to go and do. It was called the Year of the Challenge, and we would set up big challenge events, in sort of natural parts of the world based where the racetrack was. So, for example, when they were racing in Montreal, We took all the race team boys and a couple of their test riders on a 24-hour endurance challenge. And basically we set them off, you know, hiking, mountain biking, canoeing, and me being one of the boys, I just joined in one of these teams. And there was 3 guys. I didn't know the Formula One guys that well because we were agency based, but these particular guys were Jensen Button's key crew chief and a couple of his boys that worked for him. And we got lost. All of it was in the forest of Canada. So it was May, and part of the challenge was actually to bush bash through this area. And it was a mental challenge as well as a physical challenge. So this crew chief started crying because he just was physically and mentally exhausted, and they just broke down. And these boys were like big boys, you know, like senior jobs, and here's me, like little Tash, like holding them together, pep talking them, like, boys, we're going to be okay, we're going to go out this way. And I got the compass out, and we got absolutely eaten alive by mosquitoes. Like, I mean, we were destroyed by mosquitoes, but we made it out of this woodland, and we made it through the challenge. And like at the end of that challenge, like the boys we just had such a lovely relationship because we'd been through this really intense physical and mental challenge. But I remember saying to the crew chief, I won't name him, but he said, don't ever tell anyone that I cried, you know, and that you had to pick me up. Like, it was quite funny, but that's mentally, women are stronger, you know, like when you push to that level of exhaustion, there was something in me that, you know, helped all of them. My maternal instinct sort of kicked in, and I ended up dragging those boys through that forest and got them out the other side, you know, and kept them positive. And they were ready to quit, and I was like, we're not quitting, we'll get there. So yeah,
Powerful,
that's one
powerful
that's a
woman.
great memory.
Yeah. Fantastic. Then we've got to move on to Johnny now, right? So you're with Castrol Honda, you're with Formula One, but in that time, you've shared some amazing pictures of yourself with Johnny, and then as you started the family. So let's go back, because I know it's a great story about Sealed with a Kiss. So when you guys met.
Oh, yes. Okay. So yeah, Jonathan and I mysteriously sort of kept turning up at same places at the same time in the same sort of circle of work. So obviously there was an attraction there for us, but we were also really good friends, which is like you always meet guys, and I never sort of dated guys. I actually had to be mates with them before it went any further. So, and he was a lot younger than me, so it was quite an embarrassing sort of thing for me, because I had respect for myself, and I tried to keep that professionalism in a woman in a man's world. Not running off with riders wasn't really the thing to do. We're all human. We all get drunk and have a kiss here and there, but anyway, you do get judged for it quite severely if you're not careful. So Jonathan and I sort of played this game on and off for a while and tried to hide it. And in the end, I'm a bit older than Jonathan. I'm 8 years older. So I'd sort of had the experience of traveling around the world, and I helped him through his early years when he just used to get lost. You know, he had no idea where even Austria was. I remember him ringing me saying, how do I get to Austria? And I was like, okay, let me book your flights. I'll sort you out. So I was sort of like, he calls me his go-to girl when we were working for separate teams, but we always had this little lovely sort of like really just a spark. We just had the spark. And then finally we stopped messing around. I think I got to the point where I was like, do you know what? I'm a bit bored of this. You know, as an older girl, I'm not playing this game anymore. I just want to be mates, or it's not what I'm looking for anymore. And I gave him the choice. And in fact, I sort of put him on the spot and said, look, whatever we're doing, it's over, because I'm not playing this game anymore. And we'll just go back to being friends. Okay. I don't want to fall out with you, and let's just leave it. And then I turned my phone off, and he kept pestering me and pestering me and pestering me. And I said, look, you just can't be the man I want you to be. And he said, well, give me a chance. And I thought, right, he's 23. I'm like 29 or whatever it was. I thought this may not work, but my heart was like, I really like him. Like, I really liked him. And so that weekend, I remember being on a train. I lived in France at the time, and I was getting a train across to Italy. And he texted me and he said, just give me a chance to be the guy that you want. And I said, okay, I'll give you a chance. So we turned up in Mazzano, in Italy, and he was then riding for 10K Honda it was his first year in the World Superbikes. He started off in World Supersport the year before. And that weekend we said we were together, we were official. But we didn't really go around telling everyone. People always had their suspicions, but he actually won that race. Like, he went out and rode a really ballsy race with Fabrizio and Hager, I think, and it was with Spies and those kind of guys. So he just kicked ass and he won the race, and it was really exciting. And I walked down to the Parc Fermé in my Kawasaki shirt. He was in Honda shirt, and I gave him a kiss in the Parc Fermé, and everyone sort of looked, and I remember the organisers like looking and thinking, oh my gosh, so they are sort of seeing each other. And I walked back, to my box, feeling like, no, keep your head up, don't be embarrassed. This is like, because he always used to say to me, you sort of humiliate me a bit, you talk down to me because you think I'm young, and you need to be sort of proud to be with me. And I thought, yeah, you're right. If my heart's with you, then I'll be with you. So I walked back to my box, and I thought, no, that's it, done. We're together, and just got to live with the consequences. And actually loads of people were just really pleased for us, because they'd all sort of had their suspicions. And then when we finally sealed it with the kiss, we just went on to like bigger and better things, because I think when you know someone so well and you're such good friends, and then finally you get together, there's no point in kind of messing around. So our relationship actually moved really quickly when we made it official. So I think I moved in with him the end of that year. I moved in with him, and then we moved to the Isle of Man together the following year, and then we were engaged the following year from that, and then got married, and then had a baby, and then it just went boom, boom, boom. And every anniversary we have, I think it was like our 50th wedding anniversary, and I said to him, oh my gosh, in 5 years of us being together, we've had 2 kids, we've moved house twice, built our dream home, and you've won like how many, 3 or 2 world championships. I thought, we haven't done bad in 5 years. When we got our shit together, like, we obviously were meant to be together and be a really good team. So and since then it's been that's our road. We've just been on tour, and we do things together, we work as a team, and yeah, times are, it's not all perfect. It's not perfect in anyone's life, and having young kids traveling can be really challenging, but it's just what we knew and what we were prepared to do to be together. And Johnny's one of those people who, he really, really needs his people around him, like his close friends and his close family. His team is like his family now. So that's why they get the best out of him. He sort of needs nurtured. He's a softie underneath all that bravado. And I think he needs the key people like around him. And he also needs quite strong people around him. Like, I'm quite a strong-minded, obviously, woman, and always have been. I don't take any shit from him or many people, and he respected me, for that. And I think I see the way he walks on other people that don't seem to have that sense of self-worth, and he can be quite hard on them. And I'm like looking at him like, don't talk to your brother like that, or don't talk to someone. But he needs to see that people respect themselves, and he respects people that have that oomph in life. So I give it back to him. I make sure that he knows where he's, what do you call it? He knows where his bread's buttered.
Yeah. I had a chat with a lady who's going to be our next guest for this series, and she mentioned about her husband, how the one thing that he says to her is, she's the one solid that whenever he gets out, because he races cars, whenever he gets out the car and she's there and she's waiting for him, he knows that she is solely there for him. There's no agenda, there's no nothing. She is there. Yeah. He knows he can rely on her, and she is his rock, and I'm sure that's very much the case for you guys. It's the stability and the powerful woman, and the power that you bring behind that as well.
And it's beautiful. It's actually ironic with what you've called that sense of home, that the program
bringing it home. Yeah,
bringing it home. And honestly, like, behind every really decent sportsman or businessman, or in our case, drivers or riders, they do need that sense of home and security. It's really important for them in a really transient world that can be really cutthroat. I've been very fortunate because of the person I am. I like to treat people the way I like to be treated. And most of the time, I've been treated really well in this industry and with respect. I mean, minus a couple of incidents with, you know, you get the jealous wives and girlfriends occasionally, but, you know, everyone's there and it's a very highly stressful environment. But I think I had experience before I met Jonathan. I knew the score. I knew what I was getting myself into. So you do have to have, you know, a certain level of self-maturity to put up with it, because the highs are high and the lows can be excruciatingly low. You know, you're talking like when he broke his leg, you know, and I was 9 months pregnant with my child, with Jake, my first boy, and, you know, he went off and I didn't even know if he was alive, to be honest. You know, it was a really bad accident. He hit a wall. And I had to wait, you know, in the garden, you know, with my head between my legs, crying, waiting for a phone call to tell me what his injuries were, because I knew it was bad because they had ambulances on the track. And I just turned the TV off and, like, I just thought, what's going to happen? You know, like, I've got a child that I was literally, you know, about to go into labor like the next sort of week later. You know, it takes strong women to have to deal with stuff like that. Like, in your lifetime, you shouldn't have to ever watch your loved one hit a wall. You know, but we know that's their job and we know that's the risks of what they have to do. And fortunately, in Jonathan's case, he's had some really bad accidents, but he's always come out of them pretty well. And I think as the years have gone by, we've become increasingly more spiritual and, you know, have a lot more faith in just life itself, because you can't control it. And I used to get myself in such knots, particularly after I'd seen a couple of bad accidents. You know, I would almost vomit when he'd go out racing and I would just be so sick. I still get really nervous. I still watch between my hands, and most of the time I'm in the toilet, you know, asking my son where he is, you know, on that first lap. But you have to have faith in them as what they do for their job, and faith in the guys around them, and just what will be. And it takes a strong woman to be able to just do that and let them live their dream. And you tend to sacrifice who you are as a person. I always think dating a sportsman as a woman is like having a child without having a child, because you give up pretty much all your self-worth to support them and support their dream. And I think what comes back to you is that you end up having to find yourself again, you know, and allow bits of yourself to come through them without being too in their face, you know, standing next to them every time a camera comes. That's not who I am. But I know through his success and through what he's achieved, I know I'm a big part of that. And I don't need my name put in next to him in print, because I feel that in myself and I know he feels it. And then that obviously filtrates to people around us, and then they think, no, Tasha's like such an important part of Jonathan's success, because she creates this really safe environment for him. And, you know, I am very solid, and I'm very you know, I kick him, like I said, I can kick him up the arse when he needs it, because he might have been a bit of more of a diva if he hadn't been with me, and I'm sure he would have been. But even his sister said at one point he would have been such a dick if he hadn't have met you, Tosh. But he wouldn't have. He has a great heart. But like all these boys, they get so much attention, and they get this wonderful life. They're living their dream. They get a bit delusional with reality. So for me, I'm constantly pushing the buttons of reality. Even after he wins races, I used to make him change a shitty nappy at the track, because I'm like, you know, just because you win a race doesn't mean you don't, like, kids still shit their pants basically. So go and change a nappy. You know, he would literally be stuck in this bubble, and I would like, no, come back down to earth. This is the planet we live on. And, you know, kids are a brilliant way to make them ground themselves too. Like, I do think kids can make athletes even stronger. So it makes them more aware.
Coming back to the first birth then, if we can. So you mentioned that Johnny had obviously broken his leg in Germany, and he came back, and you then, soon after, you went into labor, right? Is that correct? How long after was it that he returned home?
He was airlifted, and he got a rod put in his leg. He broke his femur. And then he got airlifted by a private jet back to the Isle of Man. And 8 days later, I had Jake. my firstborn. So unfortunately, because it was a femur break, he was on crutches, but he ditched his crutches, I think, after about 10 days, and he was able to walk out of the hospital with my little boy in in his car seat. And that was us. And because of that, he ended up obviously on involuntary maternity leave, and he spent 6 solid months with me and Jake, obviously. And this was so important because originally when he said he wanted children, he said, I don't think I want children or babies while I'm racing. But because he had that time with Jake, by the time the next race came along, which was February, Phillip Island, he was just like, there's no way I'm going racing without you and Jake. So we just became part of his little team. And fortunately, Jake was actually a good baby. And we just dragged him along, and he stayed in the motorhome with us, and he was always there when he won a race, or it was just part of the routine.
I love it. And you were part of a Superbike baby group. You shared some great pictures with us. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, it's funny because the rivalry of wives and girlfriends is it's pretty strong. You can't deny it. I was one of the boys, and I was a working girl before obviously I became Jonathan's girlfriend or wife. And there's a rivalry between the guys on the track, and obviously that sort of can filtrate to the women as well. And before then, there was a couple of girls that probably wouldn't have spoken to me, and it was okay. Like I was fine with that. It was just the way that world works, and I just let it go over my head. But we all suddenly, there was 4 of us in this particular year that became pregnant, and it just made us all so close. Like we stopped worrying about what the boys were doing on track, and suddenly we were talking about like our babies, or when we all gave birth. And then it became like a 4 a.m. chat about breastfeeding, and we were all there for each other. There was 4 of us that had newborns that year, and we had this amazing Superbike baby group, and we just helped and supported each other. Because what a unique way to bring up babies, traveling around in motorhomes in the circuit, and with husbands that race. And it was just nuts. We didn't have the conventional sitting around in cafes with our pushchairs. It was just like what flight and what we took on airplanes, and if we found something that worked, made life a bit easier with having babies on the road, then that was it. So I was very fortunate that was a big part of my life. And as a young mum, first time mum, I wasn't a particularly young one, but it was great. And I'm really fortunate that those girls are still, part of my life. We've all gone different ways now. None of them really race with JR. A couple of them do, but that's that.
So you have some of your fondest memories with the family then, traveling with the traveling circus. If one was to stand out, what or could you even define one? Really, I bet you've got multiple.
There's probably the dynamic, as I said, changed. In the paddock, you wouldn't necessarily really socialize with your rival and his wife next door, but having had babies and kids, obviously they want to play together. So as the years went by, then obviously the kids all played together, and we would have, these kind of little paddock parties where the kids would be in paddling pools naked in the back of between the motorhomes. And there was in Italy one, I think I've got a photo there of all of us. We went and got I think Johnny and Jonathan and Leon Haslam went and got takeaway pizzas. It was like a Wednesday night. Before the race, they went off, got the pizzas and brought them back, and we were all just camping out in the middle of both motorhomes with our babies, and the boys, were having the pizzas as well. It was a really nice times, those early days of kids, because it's about children, and they sort of unite people and make things about them. The world feels a little less stressful on the outside when you've got like young children. It was nice. It made it very real, and took the pressure off, the boys as well. Obviously they were there to do a job, but they were able to tune out and just enjoy having a bit of family time as well. I went on to have my second boy, Tyler, 2 years after Jake. And it happened to be the first year that Jonathan had signed on for Kawasaki. So he went through that year. We had a tough year. Tyler was a tough baby. He had silent reflux and it was a nightmare. I struggled a little bit with depression, to be honest, postnatal. Tyler was extremely difficult. He'd cry and he'd vomit everywhere. But still, like we do, Jonathan picked us both up and just said, right, you come with me. The family stayed together and we just got through that year. And then at the end of the year, Jonathan won his first championship. And it was just a miracle because this child hadn't wrecked his career, which he thought it would. And I ended up having to go. He got an MBE at the end of that year. So I went off to Buckingham Palace with 2 kids that I had to leave behind with a babysitter in the Isle of Man. And they both had hand, foot and mouth, which was a disaster. And so I sort of snuck off and I started to feel really unwell. And I remember being in this Buckingham Palace, this beautiful, obviously, venue. They were playing God Save the Queen with the orchestra up on the, on the balcony. And I was there with Jonathan's family and you just wanted to cry. It was such a proud moment where he was there, and I had this beautiful dress on. It was red with a little red hat. And the Queen's usher said to me, he whispered in my ear, he said, "Can I tell you something?" And I said, yeah, go ahead. And I thought he was going to tell me off because my dress was too short, because you have to have your dress to your knee. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's going to tell me like I'm inappropriately dressed. But he actually turned around and said to me, "Your outfit is smashing." And I was like, oh, brilliant. It gave me like a massive mojo. I thought, oh gosh, like that's brilliant. One of the Queen's ushers has told me my outfit was smashing. So they're some of my favorite pictures of me and JR. And even though I felt like death, because I actually got strep throat that night, I was like in like sweats. I was awful. I was really quite ill. But like you can see the sparkle in my eye was just like, oh my gosh, as a young girl growing up in Phillip Island, Australia, I never dreamed that I'd be stood in Buckingham Palace with my amazing husband. I think he just won 3 in a row, so it was quite a special one because he'd broken the history of no one else had done 3 in a row. So yeah, you look the part, and it just goes to show you though, the pictures are fantastic, but obviously behind that is real life drama with 2 kids that were sick, me that was sick. Jonathan flew in for all of like 5 hours because he was at a test, and he'd flown in that night and then he had to fly out straight after being at Buckingham Palace back to Spain for something else, So life is, in pictures, it looks beautiful and glamorous. And we obviously do get to dress up and do some amazing awards. The FIM Awards is another one that I've got a picture, which is the dress where I'd just given birth 3 weeks before. It's another red dress, but it's a different occasion. And I didn't want to miss it. So I said, right, I'm coming, whether like, I have to be there for your first FIM Awards. And I went, and obviously I'd only just given birth 3 weeks before. And I remember wearing this dress with my boobs pulsating because I was breastfeeding and thinking, oh my gosh, I feel like my boobs going to burst on the red carpet. So they all look glamorous, but there's always, a reality behind it. Life is not just perfect.
Beautiful. Tosh, it's been absolutely fantastic speaking to you, and the story behind the home that you are helping Johnny build, right? The home that he can bring his successes back to. And that's what it's all about, that powerful woman that's behind him. You empower him by being so true to yourself and so true to what you represent. And the boys as well are absolutely gorgeous. And it's an absolute honor to hear your stories. And this is the first of many chats, I hope. So it would be an absolute pleasure to have you back on. And have the great Catherine Hodgson, who's put us in touch, to join in as well for a good chat, which would be amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you, Tosh. Really appreciate it.
Best of luck with the winter. Thank you for having me, guys. Thanks for listening to my story for a change.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Bringing It Home. Please do hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends, and help us to continue to grow and shine a light on these powerful stories about these women in and around motorsport.